everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm really excited you joined me here today because we're going to be talking about a topic that comes up a lot when we discuss channeling and also accessing higher dimensions of consciousness. The topic is meditation. And so I met a fantastic woman who is a master at meditation. We're talking deep, profound meditation to the point where it's taken her into a self-realization state of being. And so I wanted to have her on the show. So anyway, welcome to Creative Visions TV. I'm your host, Karen Dahlman, and today we're going to do a deep dive into the levels and states of meditation and how to reach those higher levels of consciousness and what those do for us, how they benefit us, where they take us, and the journey that we're going to find when we embark upon this process with our guest. So our guest is from India. She grew up there, but at the age of 14, she joined her family over here in the United States. She's been living here ever since. She's a mother, she's a wife, she had a fast-track career in pharmaceuticals and was doing fabulous in that career. But all of a sudden one day, she resigned. What happened was she started studying REIKI and really got into energy practices of moving the prana and chi through the body, and that led her to more of an internal place that she wanted to be within, a place she wanted to reside more and more. So she found herself wanting to be in silence, quietude, contemplation, which led to deep times of meditation. We're talking up to several hours a day of meditation. She couldn't go to sleep without having her meditation fix. It became almost like an obsession in a very positive way because she was getting all kinds of wonderful benefits. So I met her recently at the Conscious Life Expo, really liked what she stood for, got her book and read it. I have it right here behind me, called Home at Last, and now you're going to know who she is. But without further ado, all the way from Princeton, New Jersey, I'd like to welcome Sarada Chiruvolu. Welcome, Sarada. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you, Karen. It's a pleasure to be on your show today.
Well, it's great to see you again. We ran into each other in February, had a nice talk. You were, by the way, you guys, she was on the video that I did at the Conscious Life Expo. We have a little expose of her.
Send a message to everyone that enlightenment, self-realization is not a property of one, but for all of us. You know, we all will get there sooner or later. It's nothing that only special people are getting enlightened or self-realized. It's for every one of us.
And I said, I'm bringing her to the show because of what she represents. Now, your meditation process and what I read in this fabulous book, you guys, Home at Last, that journey towards higher consciousness, and I'll definitely give the links to that below where you can find it. She really goes into this whole process of what this application of this technique is about. But she doesn't just get into, oh, it's just all bliss. She tells you how what the struggles were, or learning to sit for a long time. And then she talks about also the positive aspects of how she just couldn't get away from it, and it just kind of became her life. So let's jump in. Let's jump in with what got you started on this path. I know I mentioned a little bit in the beginning, but let's hear it from your words yourself.
Sure. I wasn't a spiritual person to begin with from way back, until way into my adult life. All of a sudden, I got into REIKI, trying to help my husband who had a heart attack, try to post-op things to recover faster and things. Those days I believed in, there got to be something more than modern medicine and, surgery and all this. So that led me to meditation, which was really interesting, something with that energy healing and, passing on that cosmic energy, you take it upon yourself and then, through your hands, channeling it through your hands and helping somebody that's going through any kind of an issue or an ailment, right? So that interested me really good. And so I started doing that. And all of a sudden, interestingly, that took me to meditation practice, Love being in that quietude and this and the bliss and quietness. And that did a lot for me, actually, those days. So I stopped REIKI, put that aside after some time. I used to do that. I didn't make that as a career or anything. Then I started doing meditation because I loved it. And I wanted to continue where that would lead me eventually. And I did a lot with day-to-day work, and of course meditation is not just for enlightenment or self-realization. It does wonders for normal day-to-day to people, and people are doing a lot of meditation lately, from 50 years ago, 40 years ago, there are a lot of meditation centers around. So me a lot of meditation. That's how I started.
Well, and you guys, I got to know, she was also a wife, like I mentioned, and raising children too. And then they grew up and moved out, but she started getting deeper into her practice. But she was also running a household. And at one point, like I said, she had a big pharmaceutical career. So you had to make room. You found out you had to leave your job. It wasn't interesting to you anymore. Tell us about that transition. I think a lot of people, as they get deeper into their spiritual pursuits, they find that something isn't working anymore in their life. And you talk a lot about it in that book, how things start shifting. Maybe share that with people, that part for you.
You mean how I got into deeper and deeper states of my meditation?
Yes, and why you would leave this promising career you had and change, and you changed really a lot of your life in many ways. Your social life, a lot of things changed.
Oh, a lot of them. You know, actually, it all started because it had been some kind of a sudden shift in perception that took place when I was working in pharmaceutical. Yes, you're right. I was doing, fantastically well with my jobs and juggling things around. I'm a mother and I have my husband and the whole works, just like everybody else, right? And then I said, okay, let's continue on. And then all of a sudden, there's this shift in perception took place that kind of changed everything in the way I was thinking about life in general. It has total, it's like a drop in everything that I believed in, and total drop in everything that I was interested in doing. So suddenly it's almost like a depression, down the dumps I felt, leading me into something, thinking about what life is all about and what life has to offer you. Why are we here? What's the purpose of that? That type of thinking went on for a while, and it led me deeper and deeper meditations eventually and then I said, well, I was doing meditation and handling my home and the kids and the whole works. I did not have enough time to do all that, so I had to resign my job because a job will take up, 8 to 10 hours in a pharmaceutical company, and then I come and I do this, I do that, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted this time. What can I give up at that point? I can't give up my family, my this, that, normal, and I can give up my work because my husband is still working, thank God, so I wasn't really, dying. But even then, that sudden shift took me in a direction where it's almost preordained, to do something beyond, to do something else than what I was doing. Like I'm not supposed to be continuing working. I'm supposed to be doing meditation or get into that, deeper and deeper into that. That led me one thing after another, and I just said, maybe this is what I have to do. I can give up my job. Just like that, I resigned next day.
Amazing. I think a lot of people struggle with that and ask themselves, oh my God, I can't, I got to pay the bills. And of course, we have to pay the bills, you have to pay the bills. But you found a way, I guess, because you were set up, you feel like it was preordained, like you said, predestined, and you had your husband supporting as well. So that helped you. Yep. But still, just to walk in after all that training, and I know what it means to go through education and to work your way up in something, it's kind of scary.
So that decision was so strong that I didn't even feel like I made a mistake or anything by giving up my job, because I wanted that time to be spent on something that is driving me toward, is like pointing me in a direction where I should be following up, not just necessarily, I got to meditate, so that's why. But it's not that. It's something beyond, something knocking within you, You have to do that type of thing. It
pulled you. It's something compelled you, pulled you in that direction. It was so strong, and you had to trust it.
Yeah, in a sense, it's kind of imposed on me, something that was imposed to be doing something different. And so then I followed through. And that's what made me give up the job.
What I find fascinating was when you were meditating, you found that you connected better to meditation when you were outdoors.
Yes.
Talk to us about that. I think a lot of people I know people do meditate outdoors. I do too sometimes, but I mostly do it inside. So talk about that for you and what you found from that.
I always loved nature. I always was with the lush of green, oceans, walks, and I'm a tennis player to top it off. And I just do everything outdoors. I mean, I do not like inside some reason. I don't like to be cooped up in front of the television watching TV hours and hours, or if I have time, gadgets, checking this, checking that. I'm not that type. So I rather, if I have time, go out to the nature. So that drives me. And even with my meditations, I preferred those days meditating underneath the tree, but I loved it, that calmness, that as if the trees and the nature are my friends. They're inviting me to come out, sit with them. I felt there's a certain amount of energy or some certain amount of calmness, and that lifted me up to do meditation outdoors. I don't know I can't really explain that feeling, but it used to uplift me much more better outdoors than inside.
Well, there was like connection you had, and you did talk about in your book and how you felt connected to the trees, and you talked about you didn't quite use the words grounding, but you talked about getting out there, and it does something to our bodies. It allows us to kind of enliven again, doesn't it?
I think I was talking to that nature.
Yeah.
I was like part of it. And in reality, we are part of nature.
We are.
We're just embodying this body as opposed to nature, trees, embodying trees, frame. I mean, it's like, that's the form they take, trees and leaves and this and that, what have you. But we are embodying this form called body, right? Yes. So in reality, we all have the same substance, I believe. So we're all connected, actually. So that connected, one has to be receptive to. You need to kind of feel it. And that feeling was strong within me when I was meditating. That as if that something is pulling me. Come on out. Be with us.
Come on out and play with us. I'll tell you what, when I go out, I do these meditative walks. I call them walking and talking. That's when I do my best channeling, and ideas and inspiration flows, and it's outdoors. Right. So I fully understand that. Now, when you guys get into serious meditation, as Sarada has, you will tend to go and find a teacher, someone who you can work with that can help you with the spiritual discipline that's required. We're going to talk about some of this disciplines required, but you started following a woman named Amma. You could say her whole name for me.
Amma Karunamai.
Okay, there. That's why I didn't say it, guys.
It's kind of long.
Yeah, it's kind of long. I can't pronounce it.
Amma.
She has an ashram in India. Do you want to talk about how you found her and your process with her?
Yeah, sure. It's actually, I was way ahead of myself before I found her. I was deeper and deeper, yes. Almost there, maybe 3/4 of it, I was, already there. And then I wanted to find somebody that I could talk about or discuss the things that happening to me with my meditation. So all these changes, how it came about. I wanted someone to discuss, someone to have a dialogue with, and that's when I started looking up and researching out and who's there, and I wanted somebody authentic from India. Yes, I was born in India, I was raised there. I wasn't raised there, but I was up to 13 years I was in India, and then I grew up in US. So then I said, because I believed in some of those things that their teachings were giving me, some of the things about life, consciousness, energy. It's like universe is a God. What we call God is really totality of the universe. It's just that consciousness that we all are part of it. So I resonated with this woman that was giving these type of discourses and teaching meditation and other things among meditation rituals and this and that to uplift human consciousness. She comes to U.S. every year, 6 months here, 6 months there. So just like there's hundreds of gurus out there, teachers out that you resonate. It's a matter of who you resonate with. So I went and talked to her in one of her visits in Philadelphia, and then I got to know her better. That's when I visited her ashram in India as well, a couple of times, and I went and attended her retreats, and then I got connection with her, and we hit it off.
Now, you said there were some things you wanted to talk to her that other people wouldn't understand. You mentioned that in your book, and I got to read what those things are. Do you want to share? Because there's this process you went through could be pretty intense. Because you really start stripping away and dropping away a lot of things of who you are or who you think you are, right?
Right. You mean what it's like, it's something like it kind of took me one step at a time. It's not like all of a sudden I got awakened and I got boom. It's not like that. Like I told you about my shift in perception took place, and then after that, that made me go deeper and deeper into my meditations eventually, and then meeting this guru, the teacher, who I can talk about different things that are going on within me that she would understand, and she would tell me, okay, don't worry that your energy is moving up and up and through all your chakras. This lady could tell and tell me, so that kind of like in par with the way I was thinking, So her and I would discuss different things about my journey, inner journey, and that's what interested me, to be with her a lot and converse with her, and so she did help me a lot.
Yeah, because she would understand what you're going through, because that's something she went through. But what I really enjoyed reading in your book is when you went through the whole experience of the chakras. Maybe we could talk about chakras a little bit and some of the manifestations you felt within your body as you literally shifted that energy and went through some of the blockages you talked about, but also working with the Kundalini energy. You guys, this gets pretty intense. but maybe you can share a little bit about that. We talk a lot in this channel about chakras, and so you can talk about that, because I know Reiki also does work with chakras as well.
Right. Reiki actually cleanses the chakras.
Yes.
Perhaps that's why I got into meditation very easily without any effort, because the Reiki energy cleans out all these, things that have been accumulated for a long time. That in order for us to absorb that cosmic energy within us, the chakras has to be clean so that we can pass that energy through our channel it out to whoever is having an issue with, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's what happened. Yeah, well, chakras, I didn't have as much of a problem as some of them perhaps might have had when the inner energy gets awakened. But I did my share. I had my share. That's when I always wrote in my book also why one has to be prepared for those ups and downs of inner energy awakening. If you cannot withstand them and you go through these issues, a lot of problems, and then you can't pursue the meditations. And the best thing to do is to take care of your body and your health prior to that, or while that's happening. Eat well, exercise, sleep well, and make sure you're in good condition to withstand all these things that are being thrown at you. And that's what I did.
It's almost like you're getting ready like an athlete to run a triathlon or do a triathlon. In a way, when I read this, it's like you were really careful about your. A lot of people are that watch this show, but your diet really mattered. You really ate things that were light for your body, could be digested quickly. You said that would help your energy raise. You were very, very careful. You made sure you got enough rest, whatever that number was for you, and you made sure you were outdoors exercising. But it wasn't like strenuous hard unless you played tennis. You were talking about how it didn't have to be like sweating your butt off at the gym. It could be just this walk, right?
Right.
It's like listening to your body.
Yeah, you don't need to go and sweat off and wear out yourself when you do exercise. It depends on how much you can handle and what your constitution is like. Exercise means not die with exercise and get all sweaty and just collapse. No, keep fit. Take as much as you can and keep your inner energy and your body in condition, so that when these things come about, the inner energy is a tremendous amount of energy that gets awakened, because to help you move from one chakra to another chakra, the soul is moving to receive and go back to the source ultimately, right? That's the unification takes place in the seventh chakra on the top of your head, where the seventh chakra is located. So for all that, you must be in good shape. Otherwise, you go, what is all this? It's like a 20-watt bulb, and it's a 200-watt bulb energy that's within you, and you don't know the organs get all chaotic mess. Your digestive system gets all out of whack, and your nervous system really gets all, into a lot of issues. You see your heart starts getting pumping faster, and your appetite is like gone down the dumps, but yet you have to eat, and whatever you eat is not going well with your system, because we're dealing with a whole new energy here. You need to make sure you eat limited amount of food, because you have a lot of energy within you. You don't need a lot of food. A lot of people think, you have to eat so much food to sustain yourself, but that's not the case. You can have just a little amount of food, but proper food that'll take you a long ways.
Yeah, because you talked about a lot of symptoms. You got into some of them here. I know some of them were even depression you would feel, bouts of crying as the energy moved up your system, right?
Correct. I used to be depressed a lot. Even now I get depressed a lot of times. I mean, depression is something because you're dealing with different consciousness. You're not dealing with these limited amount of awareness as before. Now you are expanded awareness that causes a lot of issues with the day-to-day life sometimes, So depression is something that it's not in tune with the life that you're leading. It's like it's not conducive to the environment you're staying, Sometimes that happens, even after the self-realization, even after the enlightenment, that happens. But those days, that depression was really strong because it's working. Your energy is working. Your energy is bringing you different locations. It's working with all your organs. And it's like you're insomnia. You can't sleep well. You can't eat well, even though you want to. It doesn't go well with your system. So I used to go through all those issues, but I learned it through meditation. No matter what, you got to keep up your meditations. That will fix itself in course of time. And that's
what I find fascinating. Your meditation, it wasn't just this blissful thing. I think people think that's what it's supposed to be. It was actually, you were taken to a level of not just benefiting from it physically or mentally or emotionally or spiritually. You were taken to a level of, I want to go find my true self. I want to have this realization of who I am, what is source and God within me. And I think that's when you focus it that way, you break through all these things within that cause all these reactions.
Exactly. I was going through, sometimes I would meditate and I would say, God, something is going on, like there's a fight going on within you between life and death. It's like everything is a chaotic mess. And I would get very agitated when I was meditating. I mean, almost like I had to open my eyes and start walking in that garden and calm down and let everything settle down and go back to meditation again. There are times you have to do that, Then I used to feel better. And eventually I used to pray even when I was meditating, please take me to my destination soon. So this way I don't have to go through all these hurdles. And as if God listens to you, as if the nature helps you or whatever is driving this whole thing really listens to you and helps you, and it subsides eventually. The meditation, deeper you get, the better you get. And the better impact you have. That's how it was with me eventually.
Now, would you say all these experiences and sensations and feelings you had was part of that rising of the Kundalini as you were beginning to bring it up to your crown chakra?
Yep. We call it here in Western world inner energy, right? Kundalini is this way of saying. That's true.
Right. If you do yoga, people talk about Kundalini. I'm used to it from yoga. But yes, you're right. The inner energy, when it raises up, and you talked about the heat you were feeling, and you've got, it went up to your crown chakra. You had moments, and that's where you are now. We were talking earlier before we turned this on. We were just catching up since we hadn't seen each other in a while. And what I find fascinating about Sarada is that we were talking about how much she meditates now, and I'll have you answer that and talk about that, than what she was doing then, when she was devoting herself to the practice of learning meditation and really getting that point where the energy was rising up. And once you get to that space of you're connected with the source energy, it changes. Talk about that, please.
Yes, once you experience that consciousness, the way I say it is that you tap into that finest fabric of consciousness. And that dimension is unexplainable. You got to be there to feel it. That bliss, that calmness, that quietude, that totality of oneness, you feel as if you're part of that whole universe without any of this body. You don't have the consciousness of the body any longer. You're part of that. You're part of energy where all life springs from and eventually goes back into. And that's what you feel. It's like a totality of that universal consciousness is what you need to tap into eventually. That's what, when you realize, that's what they call it enlightenment. That's the stage where you can feel, you can experience, and you're there. That awareness, expanded awareness and expanded space with no beginning or no end to it. That's what it is all about, Once you have that experience, everything changes within you, the way you, because you felt the reality, you know the truth, you know who you are, you know what you're supposed to be doing. So it's almost like your normal perception of reality to permanently altered perception of reality you had been to, that remains with you at all times. So like slowly you come back and you function well in this world.
Yeah.
That is, all with all the challenges and everything. It's going to be difficult at the beginning. I'm not saying it's easy either. I had a lot of issues at the beginning, and I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't like anything. I didn't think anything is exciting any longer, because you're getting rid of your ego consciousness and you're living with your true essential nature of being within you. That's yours. Within yourself, you're living. You're no longer living with that ego-driven life any longer. That's what's on.
So dualism kind of slips away. You're seeing the unity.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that in your book too. I can't help but think when I was reading your book and was that Zen proverb that says, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. The life doesn't get necessarily easier, does it? You still have your ups and downs. You still have your responsibilities. It's not like all of a sudden you're blissed out all the time. It's the fact that you have an awareness now of where you come from, who you really are, and where you're going. Is that a way to say it?
Exactly. You said it correctly. It's almost like nothing changes in the outer world. Okay, everything remains with all the laundry we have to face and all the challenges that get thrown at us. We're still with all that. It's you changed. Your way of looking at the world changes. Your perception changed. So you're working with that inner consciousness where that heightened energy, heightened awareness, where you can do just about anything you want to do. That brings you to your full potential to perform better than before, as opposed to way back, how you are. You are able to, your intent gets stronger, your insight gets stronger, and the way you're really supposed to live. And that's why everyone says, you got to get enlightened, you got to get self-realized. Why is that? All these teachers and gurus,
over the years. Mm-hmm.
Why is that happening? Because we live the way we're supposed to, not ego-driven life, but better. You function better. You can, you can take care of anything. You put your mind to it, and you're using your full potential as opposed to a limited perception of life. That's what it's all about.
Well, that's beautiful. On this channel, on this show, that's what we talk about. How do we find ways to tap into the greatest self within and how to bring that out? So this is why, you guys, I'm having her on the show. This is what she exudes and does. There's some really important functions to meditation, and I really love breath work. Do you want to talk about the importance of prana breath work in the meditative work you did and still do?
When I say breath work, I don't know about what you mean by that, but what I was I think I know what you're referring to. It's like that pranayama where you take deep breaths, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But for meditation, at least for the beginners or people that are not too much into meditation, that's very good. It helps you a lot with the breath control. It's called pranayama in the Eastern way. It's taking one deep breath from one nostril, letting go in the other nostril, and from that you take a deep breath again and let go in the other nostril. It's like
alternating breathing.
Yeah, alternate nostril breathing. I think even Hillary talks about that in one.
Yeah, she did. I've heard her talk about that. That's right. She said it helped calm her down. I learned that in my yoga class, and I have to say it does help you get into a deeper state. That's a great way to start, and that's why I wanted to bring that up. If people are out there want to start meditating, that's a technique you can use, the alternate nostril breathing technique, or deep breaths before you start. Right. And by the way, I do deep breath work whenever I do any kind of work with channeling. Anytime I work with the higher energies, I do breath work to get into that space. So I knew that you talked a lot about that in your book and how important that was to you as well, just that regular deep breathing.
Calms you down and prepares you for meditation. In other words, the thoughts, how bombarded with thoughts.
The monkey mind, the chatter.
Yeah, that kind of subside. The deep breaths taking pranayama does in 5 minutes before you start your meditation will subside thoughts a little bit better. You're able to focus better, and you're able to go into meditative state much easier as opposed to before. And prana is needed. The more prana you have, which is same as vital energy, that's what we call it, right? Prana and vital energy, same thing. The better you are. As far as health goes, as far as meditation goes, anything, you need a lot of prana within you. What we carry is such a small amount of prana, really. You need to accumulate a lot more to function better and be healthier. And that's what I believe in. And that's what it worked for me. The more I was outdoors, the more I was doing this meditation. Of course, meditation brings you a lot of prana from the cosmic source. You know, when you're meditating, all your channels, your chakras are absorbing that cosmic energy. Those are the hubs that we have, the 7 hubs, that absorbs a lot more, right? You believe that?
Oh, yes.
And so that's the reason we have to do try to be around nature or ocean, or do this breath control practice every day. Even for day-to-day living, you can do that. You know, people can relax and less stress, and more you have energy to function well when you do this breath control alternate practice of nostril breathing, pranayama. That's what I call it.
Yeah, my guides call it the breath of life, and they often tell me just to they say, start your morning. This is what I do when I start my morning. I take 25 deep breaths in and out, standing up, and I do it. They said 25 is the magic number. They go, you don't usually benefit beyond that, but at least try to start the day that way. And anytime you're thinking that you're getting a little uptight or tense or something's not, or, you know, your shoulders are up here or whatever it is because of work or whatever you're doing, stop and breathe. Everybody talks about this. The important thing is that it helps. We need the oxygen. When we yawn because we want more oxygen within our body, we need it for our brain, we need it to function, and it actually calms you down. And as Sarada said, it takes you deeper into meditation, a little easier to ease into it. You know, Sarada, I think meditation and practice of meditation has a lot of connotations about it that might be hard to apply, or people think they have to sit there in a lotus position. I think you did it a certain different way. And I loved it in your book because you talked about there's not just one way on this path of meditation. There's not just one pursuit and one teacher. It's like there's so many ways to get there. And I love the fact you were so open about that. Maybe you can just dispel the myth that meditation has to be one certain, like transcendental meditation only, or one way, but how somebody can do it and put the ease into it for us, if you would, Sarada. I think you're the one that can do that.
Sure, definitely. Yes, I do believe that very strongly. You know, people seem to think that there's only one way to meditate, or whoever takes upon, there are hundreds of ways, okay? Mindfulness, this, that, Buddha way of doing meditation, I don't know. There's so many of them. Meditation is not about a type of meditation. Meditation is something, whatever works for you. Depend on individuals, you know, whatever your constitution allows you. If it is mantra chanting and to lift yourself to higher states of consciousness, so be it, for, you know, initially. Or if it is something just sitting quietly, contemplating for a while in silence, so be it. So I don't put any kind of emphasis on any kind of a type of meditation. Meditation, all the forms, all the techniques will leave you in the same place at the end of the day. So if you do it correctly, and if you do it conscientiously, and take, you know, do it right the way you should be doing, then it will take you there. So don't focus on any of those. Even sitting position, it's not. Right. There's no set way of sitting. There's no set way of, because if you're aching and hurting, if you're sitting in a lotus position, what good is that going to do to you? If you're sitting there and you can't even focus, you're always worried about your back hurting you, or your legs are hurting you, or your legs are sleeping now, they can't even move. That's just terrible. So I never did lotus positions. I was always sitting in a chair, in a little stool, outdoors, you know, putting my legs down nicely, comfortable. Get comfortable first before you meditate. Be okay with your body, whatever way you choose to do. Sittings, lying down, or, I mean, I prefer sitting mostly than lying down. I never lie down and meditate, but even that helps if you're conscious of it. But some people fall asleep when they're lying.
That's the problem with laying down, you guys.
You don't want to do that. So you avoid that, but you can sit in a chair or anywhere. You don't necessarily have to have a lotus position. And the way that people say, you know, you got to sit like, just make yourself upright, straight, and sit comfortably, and that should be good enough. You know, in a quiet place, same time, and that's what we should do.
I love it. And talk about the mind, because I've read so many different books on meditation. You guys, I practice myself, not to the degree that Sarada did, not hours and hours on end. I'm lucky to 20 minutes in a day. But I like what she talked about, and talked about your third eye and the technique, one of the techniques you use. I thought that was really good, and how you didn't get caught up in the thoughts. Explain that a little further, if you would.
You mean the focus? I mean, focusing on in between the two eyebrows.
Yes, I love that technique.
Yeah, that's actually, there's a chakra that's located there. That's your sixth chakra.
It's your third eye.
Yeah, the third eye area. Right. That is what my practice is all about. That's called Raja Yoga in Eastern way of saying. It's a focus and concentrating, and one point in between your eyebrows, where the Agna chakra is. You can focus it, kind of concentrate, and that's where the thoughts will get subsided easily. That's when much better, as opposed to focusing on your heart or whatever people are doing. I don't know really too much, but focusing right on that chakra in between the two eyebrows, that helps you a lot. Yeah, that helps you a lot. The thoughts that's the command center, we call it. Whatever your mind focuses on, it'll go back there. It's like, constantly you're focusing on that, rather than shifting things around all the time and concentrating on your thoughts. As opposed to that, you're focusing on the center of your two eyebrows, and then constantly be there. That'll take you much better getting into the tranquilness of the mind. Mind will not fluctuate as much as it would normally.
And I like what you said, when a thought came along, you didn't punish yourself for having that thought. You didn't go, oh, dang it, I messed up. You just went, okay, let's get back to that spot again.
Yeah.
It was so gentle on yourself, which is what I do. I haven't heard people talk about that before. And in that way, you get deeper because you're not so stressed out about it.
Yeah, a lot of people do that too, right? I mean, don't focus and don't pay attention to those thoughts. That's the best way to deal with. It's just like little kid I told in my monkey mind. It's always the kids. The less you pay attention to those activities as kids will bother you, and they ignore them, the better it is. It's less like thoughts. Thoughts are like that. They're bothering you. Ignore them. They go away eventually, because nobody's paying attention to those thoughts. Rather than you saying, "Oh, I got to get rid of thoughts," don't do that. But just focus and calm down and relax. And the thoughts will eventually disappear, because you're not paying attention to them anymore. Where there's no attention, they don't have any impact on you. So they go. Eventually they go. And that's what happened to me. I used to have thoughts, just like everybody else, but I never paid attention to them. I was like constantly doing whatever I'm supposed to, relaxing my mind, relaxing myself, and trying to just pretend there's something there in between my two eyebrows. You can even do like... put a lamp, pretend there's a lamp there. People that are trying to meditate, they can have a lamp, or they can have a favorite idol, or they have a photo that you like. Pretend it's there, and just you're like watching it all the time, or something to make it easier to be there. But always bring your attention to that area, and that's the best way.
Yeah, it seemed like it worked really well for you, and I liked how you talked about how it started vibrating in that spot for you as you began this awakening into the self-realization. This was vibrating. Does it still vibrate to this day?
It still vibrates. You know what? When I say vibrations, it's like chakras moving.
Yes.
And inner energy moving, you can feel it. I feel it all the time. When I'm meditating, I can move my energy to whichever location I want. And in fact, there are a lot of issues. Sometimes if I have a headache, or if I have pain in my knee, what have you, what I do is I meditate, and it goes away. I don't pop pills. When was the last time I went to see a doctor? I don't even remember.
That's great.
I don't take pills. I don't take pop.
You guys, she's from pharmaceuticals. Hello. Do you hear what she's saying? This is great.
Yeah, but I didn't work with the medicines. And I
know. That's your background.
Yeah, no, I don't believe in that. I believe in everything can be taken care with that energy within you. That can fix everything, that inner energy. That's what I feel. And even today, that's what I believe in.
That's awesome. I feel that for my life too. I love discussing this, different techniques people use to be able to work with the energies in their bodies. I believe in all doing the self-healing aspect too.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly. Everyone, we're all capable of it. We just don't know how. That's what it is. We're all capable of using our inner energies to heal ourselves no matter what. But it just takes practice and concentration and focus. And that comes with meditation.
So you believe that meditation is what's needed to get to a place of self-realization, if I hear that correctly?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Meditation is the ultimate direct way to enlightenment or self-realize yourself. All the other processes, like a lot of people do yogas and they do ritualistic thingies and devotion. Of course, devotion is needed for every single thing. But all these paths and different practices will move you forward toward that point, but may take longer to realize your divinity within you, self-realize yourself. But the meditation will take you quicker. That's what it is. Meditation.
Got it. Okay, so it's a fast track path.
So they do all these other things,
Yeah.
But meditation, if you are tuned toward meditation, or if you're receptive enough to do meditation and withstand that, and you're used to it, and some people are. A lot of people are doing meditation now, not just for meditation, but to self-realize, but they're doing it for function well in day-to-day life, right? It does wonders in general for everyone. And so it's good to do that, and that's faster route to self-realize.
Yeah, I think really more and more people today are seeing the benefits of going into solitude and silence within, and whether they want to call it meditation or not, that's a focus. They're focused on something. It's being in the present, and with either what is your thoughts or that image you have, it's within your forehead, or it could be a mantra like you mentioned, but it's just being in that presence, which allows you to leave all the peripheral stuff and get into a focused space. And I know for myself, every time I meditate, it's like I get inspiration. It'll come usually afterwards. I might feel something in the moment, but because I'm trying not to focus on all the thoughts, I'll find it later. It just makes me feel so much better for my day. Does it not?
Definitely. It does wonders, I mean, just to live in this chaotic world, so-called life, we need to calm ourselves and kind of tranquil ourselves within us. Because the peace doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. And the stability comes from within, and that equanimity is, you bring that on, enlightenment, you bring that on. Self-realization.
Love that. I love that you say that, because this is what I like about her book too. So you guys, Sarada is not saying go out there and find it. She's saying all the path you take and journey is within, to higher consciousness, to source, to the true teacher, to the awakening, to the truth. Yes, you have people you might go spend time with, as she did, her teachers, so you can learn. It's good to go out there to places and things and learn, but it's better. It's not better. It's best. It always is the answer to go within. And so you're very clear about stating that in your own practice.
Because a lot of people think that, this one is going to give me enlightenment.
Right.
And then they chase after these teachers or gurus, and they go to ashrams and they live there behind them. That's not going to do you any good in the long run. Ultimately, no one can give you self-realization but yourself. You have to work on yourself. Take the tools they give you, take the inspiration the teachers give you, take just like teachers. There's a teacher for, you want to graduate, you want to go through the courses and learn from professors, and just like that. For life, these gurus or teachers are out there giving you tools to use so that you function well, and you use them so that you lift yourself up when you're doing it. But the hard work, you do it yourself. And that's what I did. I did all the hard work. No one gave me enlightenment. I mean, I love these teachers that gave me all that. I highly respect them for being there for me and, giving me those tools and this and that, and inspiring me toward that, and holding my hands. And when I'm going down the dumps or depressed, she's always helpful, my teacher. She was great. But at the end of the day, who did all the work? I did. I went through all that, So that's simple. So don't do that. That's what I tell a lot of misconceptions out there also about enlightenment, self-realization, which I talk about sometimes. So don't leave your homes, don't leave your, chase all these gurus, and don't think that enlightenment is something that is only special for some people, not for others. These are all misconceptions. It's for everyone. It's not a property of one, but for all. We're all going to figure out who we are. eventually. May not be right away when you want to, but you're there. That's what I believe in. And that's how it happened to me. I didn't think I was going to be shifting my whole life this way, Look at it. So things happen without even you realizing sometimes. It'll make you go there, make you go to that direction eventually. And you find out.
So it's attainable for all. We all eventually get there. It depends on which life, maybe. I know, reincarnation is a big part of this factor, that you might have worked many other lifetimes learning to reach this divine space. So it may be in your cards or in the stars for you this time. And it may take, a couple more lives,
That's right. Exactly. Now you believe in those reincarnations. I call it cycles of life,
Yeah, the wheel of life and death.
Exactly. Life and death. God only knows how many lives we've been, This continues on until one reaches that point where they have done it all, experienced it all that was given in your plate, and that's when you transcend. You get the ability to transcend. Until then, you go through the cycle over and over and over. And that's what I believe in.
Yeah, I do too. I believe in that as well. I think it's an evolutionary process and it takes time, and we can do things to help us along the way. And I think one of the greatest gifts we've been given is the power to go within and to find our greatest self within. And through meditation is one fantastic way to do that.
Yeah, we're all evolving at a certain pace. When one transcends, one never knows. When does one get that capacity to transcend? Depends a lot on where one is in their evolutionary journey. Simple, because you may not be ready right now, or I may not be ready right now, but somebody else has already experienced it. That's what I meant. So, and don't be disappointed because of that. Your turn will come when it's your turn.
Yeah, and it's not a judgment call.
Exactly.
It's
not a judgment call. We're all in it in the same boat. It's just a matter of time, where, when, and how. And that's all it is. It's nothing
I love that. It's not putting pressure on anybody. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I emphasize a lot of times in my talks. I mean, don't think that it's just because someone is enlightened or someone is experienced that inner divinity doesn't mean they're anything special. It's just their time. It's like graduating. If a third grader went through all the classes and he graduated in his 12th grade, and you will graduate too. Eventually, that's what it is. It's all we all go through that and finish it off. And ultimate point is to learn the purpose of life. Why are we here? What is that we're learning? What is that we're experiencing? We need to get hold of all that and experience everything that's given in our plate. First take care of what's in your plate. And that's what I say. Anything, good or bad, everything is an experience, right?
That's great. I always say, first clean our own front steps or our own back porch. Before we start cleaning anybody else's or worrying about anybody else's. Take care of our own first. But that's true. We're here to work on ourselves to be the best we can be.
Exactly. That's all that matters, really,
So we've come to the place in the show where I always like to ask my guests any words of advice or inspiration that you'd like to share that help people right now to reach in and to allow their greatest selves to emerge, to express, to find that, to be that in the world.
Yeah, I would say just take a few minutes to be in a quietude in each day. I mean, in 24 hours, you can spare 5 minutes being yourself and try to figure out what's it all about. Go within yourself instead of looking outside sources for us to always be involved with. Just stay and contemplate, what is this today? Okay, I finished today. Who am I? What am I doing here? Why is this? And just stay in that tranquility. 5 minutes. That'll lead you to wanting to stay longer each day. That's what I mean by meditating 5 minutes every day. That would be good enough. People don't have to sit hours and hours, They don't have time for this, they don't have time for that, and I can't meditate because I'm so busy. That's not what just you have to find time. Evolution demands change. That's what I say to everybody. Unless you change in your way of doing things, how are you going to evolve? You need to evolve. You need to move forward. So you have to alter the way you have been. You have to, in some way, in your thought processes and choosing your things, different things that will bring change in your life. So that's what it's all about, really, at the end of the day.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's well said. And I think that's great advice. If everybody here that's watching the show wants to try just 5 minutes a day, just take that 5 minutes. I know we're all busy, got things going on, but take that 5 minutes, commit to that. And I like what Sarada said when she said, just focus on who am I? What's this about? Why am I here? And not even worry about trying to go into a, and then eventually you will get there. I know that because you start going quiet or you start listening or hearing, and then you find inspiration from it. So yeah, that's beautiful. That's very well said. So Sarada, where can everybody find you? Now, I know I found you at the Conscious Life Expo. You're out there on a circuit and talking and teaching, but where can people find you, your website, etc.? Let us know.
Yep, I'm everywhere, actually. I'm in all social media. My website is just the way it says on my book, SaradaChiruvolu.com. Easy.
Links below, you guys.
Yeah, Sarada Chiruvolu, one word, www.saradachiruvolu.com. It'll tell you everything about me and all the things I do. Now I do a lot of talks like this, and then uplift people and let them understand what enlightenment, self-realization really entails, and then release some of the misconceptions that are out there among so many people that cook up in their heads. So I give a lot of talks and stuff. All those are posted in my webpage. Also, I'm in Facebook, everywhere. And my Gmail is also there. I think people can ask me questions. And in my website, any problems they have, a lot of emails I get from a lot of people about
I bet you do. You guys, I also want to say what's really interesting about this book, 100% of the proceeds from this book goes to
charity.
Yes.
That's the thing. A good thing you brought that up. Thank you, Karen. Yes, all the money that the book makes, of course, the publisher, it's been published by commercial publisher, White Cloud Press. They take their share, but whatever share comes to me, I give all of it to my teacher, Ama Karunamai organization. She does a lot of humanitarian services, back home in India or Africa, what have you. And I deposit all the money that I get to her trust so that she can use it. I don't take it.
You give back a lot to the communities that are important to you, and you really, one of the things about your enlightenment I've noticed too is that it's like you felt like you were falling away from part of your life, but then this whole other part of you, this devotion and gratitude and love you feel for people. And I remember reading that in your book, I thought, how beautiful is that, the way you expressed it. But that's where it's taken you, hasn't it?
Yes, it is. I like to help out as much as I can. At the end of the day, no matter how much you have, it's all about what is it that you could do for someone else. That's what it's all about, someone else that's less fortunate than you are, or maybe they can use some other hand in anywhere you can. So I involve myself right now with a lot of charity work, in India as well as here. Whatever I can put my hands in and do whatever my little bit, everything helps. So that's
fantastic.
What I do.
It's been such a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your information and inspiration about your practice of meditation and how it can help all of us. So thank you again, Sarada.
Thank you for having me, Karen. I loved it. Thank you again so much for inviting me to be on your show.
You're very welcome. We'll talk soon. So you guys, there you have it. Here's a woman who's out there really pushing the boundaries of consciousness. She did this through her practice of meditation. She went inward and allowed herself to find who her true self is. She made connection with it. She worked through all the energy levels to raise up so she could commune with the divine source. After all, that's what it's about. It's going back to where you came from. It's going home. As the title of the book tells us, home at last. So I ask you all to get out there, dedicate just your 5 minutes a day to meditation. Let me know in the comments below how that's going. I'm doing it too. Let's talk about it, and let's see where that takes you on your journey as you proceed back home to your space that's sacred. Thank you again for joining me. This was Creative Visions TV. I'm your host, Karen Dahlman. Now get out there and explore that expansive universe and meditate. See you later. Bye-bye.